All right, guys. So in this lesson that you're going to be doing today, we are going to be talking about using right triangle trig to draw a diagram and to solve word problems. So I just want to review the steps with just a basic right triangle trig problem. So remember, let's say this is 10 and this is 30 degrees, and we're trying to find this side. Remember, so, ka, toa. Okay, I'm just going to review the steps with you. I'm sure most of you guys remember this, but it's been a few days. So I'm going to go ahead and review it. Step number 1 that you do is you write down the angle. Step number 2 is you list the side that they give you. So from this angle, this is my opposite side because this is the side that doesn't touch it. It's across from it. And this is always my hypotenuse. Some people are getting confused with your hypotenuse and your adjacent side. Your adjacent side is the other side that touches it. Anyways, we have the O and we have the H. So the second step after you identify, this is from last week with the notes. The second step after you identify the sides of importance, you figure out which one it is, sine, cosine, or tangent. And sine is the one that has the O and the H. So remember, sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. That's what so can mean. So means. So we're going to write it next to the angle and we're going to put it over 1. And then the next step is set up your proportion and cross multiply to solve. So sine equals your opposite over your hypotenuse, which is x. Okay. Once you have this, you cross multiply. X times sine 30, x times sine 30 equals 10 times 1. Last step, then you don't plug in anything into your calculator until you finish. Last step is we divide everything by, because we have to get to isolate the x, divide everything by sine of 30. Sometimes you're going to multiply this number, sometimes you're going to divide it. All right, so once you do this, you divide it, and sine 30 divided by sine 30 cancel out. And on your calculator, you would do 10 divided by sine of 30. Now, on your calculators, if you're using your iPhone or if you're using a basic calculator that doesn't display every number that you type in, you have to do a little bit of this backwards. Remember, you have to go 10 divided by, then you're going to do this backwards. You're going to press 30 and then the sign button and then equals. Make sure you press equals. If you're using a graphing calculator or a TI, something where it displays the numbers as every time you type in a number, it just keeps those numbers. You can just plug the whole thing in normal. 10 divided by sine 30, press equals. Make sure your calculator is in degrees though. All right. So that's just a short little review about right triangle trig. And the reason why that's important is because for the notes today, it's word problems. And I don't have any notes because I'm just going to be showing you how to do a couple of these word problems. So on the word problems that I attached to the lesson today, the very first one, you have to draw this out. So it says a ladder, the first one, a ladder that is 500 centimeters long. So here's your ladder. And it is 500 centimeters long. Here's the ladder, here's the ground that it rests against, and here is the wall that it's going to be leaning against. It's always a right angle for this chapter. And it says that if the angle between the ground and the ladder, this angle right here is 57 degrees. How far from the wall is the bottom of the ladder? So here's the bottom of the ladder. Here's the wall. How far is the wall? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. How far from the bottom of the wall is the ladder? This side right here. Sorry. I was reading the problem wrong. All right, so look, here's your ladder. It's 57 degrees up. how far is the bottom of the ladder all the way to the wall? So if you get rid of this beautiful drawing that I have, you're going to see it's just a basic right triangle question. And then we're going to follow the steps that you did before. Step number 1, write down the angle. Step number 2, from this angle, this is your hypotenuse, and this is your adjacent side, because that's adjacent means next to it, touches it. So cosine, and we're going to write that down. The reason why we are using cosine is because it has your adjacent and your hypotenuse. Cosine of 57 equals your adjacent, which is x, over your hypotenuse, which is 500. And in this situation, you cross multiply. You don't have to divide anything because, watch, when you cross multiply, x times 1 equals 500 times cosine of 57 degrees. And that, in your calculator, is going to give you how many, what is it in centimeters, how many centimeters it is away from the bottom of the ground, or bottom of the ladder, to the ground. Okay? I'm sorry, not further ground, to the wall. All right, next question that I have for you guys is a 40-foot flagpole. All right, so what I would do for these questions is draw these out. A 40-foot flagpole. So here's your flagpole right here. This is 40 feet. It says it casts a 25-foot shadow. So here's the sun. When the sun hits it, the shadow on the ground, because the shadow is on the ground, the shadow is 25 feet. A 40-foot flagpole casts a 25-foot shadow. So here's your shadow. Find this shadow cast by a nearby building of 200 feet. Okay, so this is not going to be a trig problem. It's going to be a right triangle because I'm going to draw this. I'm going to draw this here. Here's a flagpole, and this is 40 feet. Here's the sun that hits it. They want to know what's the shadow of a, what is it, of a 200-foot, got to get new pins, sorry guys. Here's your building. What's the shadow on the ground from here to here of a 200-foot building? This is like your similar triangles from chapter 2 when you had the word problems. So watch, if I were to redraw this, because this is a right angle, here's my little triangle. This is 40, and the shadow that this casts right here is 25 feet. Here's my big triangle. This is a right angle. This is 200, and the shadow is x. How would I set that up? It's actually similar triangles because angle, and this is the same angle, this vertex angle right here for both of them. So you could just say 40 over 25 equals 200 over x. Boom, boom. Cross multiply to solve. Some of these questions that you're going to have are similar triangle problems. Other ones are going to be trig problems. You just have to draw it to set it up, to figure out what it is. Okay. And I think I give you, let me look at my notes, but I think I give you 2 more questions to do. Number 4, you are flying a kite. All right, so here you are, you're super happy, and here's the kite all the way up here. Shazam. Boom, there's your kite. You're flying a kite and you've let out 80 meters of string. Some of you guys are probably like, what's a kite? Some of you guys probably don't even know what a kite is. Kite is something on a string, and you fly it and it stays in the air, and I don't know, kids like it or something. So anyways, here's the kite being flown. The string is 80 meters. The kite's angle of elevation with the ground is 40 degrees. So here's the ground right here, which would also be right here. And it's 40 degrees. So here it is. Here's your string, and you let up, boom. This right here, your kite goes way up here, but this angle that you're letting up is 40 degrees. And here is your kite is always going to be right triangles. And they want to know if the string is stretched, how high is the kite above the ground? Okay, so it's assuming, so let's think of this. It's assuming that the kite is on the bottom of the ground right here. The string is at the very bottom. How high is this if there's 80 meters of string let up? Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this into a simple right triangle trig question. So once again, from my side of 40, this is my hypotenuse. This is my across side, my opposite side, so I would use sine. Sine of 40 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse, and then cross multiply. So x times 1 equals 80 times sine of 40. This is what you plug into your calculator. Okay, we're doing one more question. And let's see, let me make sure this is the right one that I want to do. Okay. Yep, this is the last one. Why don't you guys try the hot air balloon question? See if you can do it. Try the hot air balloon question. Pause this video, the very last example question that I give you. See if you can do it. Go ahead and pause it and give it a shot. Okay, you should have paused it. Let's see how close you got. So you're in a, I know just based off of my other ones that I'm going to have some type of right triangle. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw my right triangle. I know I'm going to have some type of right triangle. I'm probably going to have an angle right here. You are in a hot air balloon that is 600 feet above the ground. It's not this way, because when you look how high something is, you're looking straight up. You're not looking diagonal. See the diagonal length, how far they are. When you look at something, you're like, oh, that's 600 feet way up there. So here's your balloon. Here's your balloon, and it's 600 feet above ground. If the angle from your line of sight to your friend is 20 degrees, so that means this is 20 degrees from here's your eye down here, and you're looking up at a 20 degree, and you can see your friend, hanging out because they have so much fun in a hot air balloon. How far is he from the point on the ground below the hot air balloon? How far is he from this point right here? Okay, so in this situation, we would write down 20. This is not a similar triangle question. Similar triangles is when you draw two different triangles. This is just going to be a super simple right triangle trig question. So 20, this is my adjacent. This is my opposite side. Some people have asked in the past, how do I know which side is what? How do I know 600 is not here and my x isn't here? You have to draw each figure and label it to make it make sense to you. So tangent is the O and the A. So I would say tangent 20 equals, I'm sorry, this is my O, I'm sorry guys, and this is my A right here. Tangent equals opposite, which is 600, over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent, which is x. Okay. Cross multiply. So I'm going to say x times tangent 20, cross multiply, because this is a proportion. X times tangent 20 equals 1 times 600. Now, this is the weird one where you actually do have to take one more step. So if you divide everything by tangent of 20 on both sides, this cancels out. X equals 600 divided by whatever the world tangent 20 is. This is what you have to plug into your calculator. So it would be 600 divided by, if you're using your phone or a simple calculator, 600 divided by 20, press the tangent button, but make sure you press equals afterwards. Make sure it's in degrees. If you're using a graphing calculator or one that displays the numbers out after you punch in a number, it just keeps that on the screen every time. You just plug this in your calculator normal. 600 divided by tangent 20, press equals. Okay, that was a basic lecture over right triangle trigonomic questions. These obviously will get a lot more difficult, not in this course though. In Math 3 a little bit, but more so in Math 4, you're going to have a lot more difficult word problem questions. But for this course, it's going to stay pretty simple. Okay. Anyways, I am going to turn this off, and I'll see you guys in a little bit in class.